Hey guys, it's Caban here with True Champion Gaming, and today we're going to be going over a Fire Silvie deck. And I think this build will be a little more different than other builds that you may see. I tried to make it a little bit more unique. I don't think it's tier 1. I don't think this is going to be the best build out there, but it's kind of just a fun, quirky deck that I built, and it's just it's just Fire Silvie. So we have Spirit of Fire. And then we are only running Silvie level 1 and Silvie level 2. So I kind of tried to get out of my head that, you need to get a bunch of levels with Silvie and all this stuff. I originally started to build this as a Allen deck, and I just kind of liked where it went with Silvie level 2 instead. So you don't even really need to push Silvie level 2, honestly. You really just want to go into Silvie level 1, give the next thing that you play a buff, hopefully like, a Grey Wolf or something. And then, Silvie level 2 can draw you 2 cards. If you ever do have that option, I would probably go into it that turn, because it's a little hard with this deck to get an animal and a beast out on the same turn and actually have them survive, because you need to do this on your turn. But yeah, it's here just for the extra 3 life bonus if you don't really have anything else to do and stuff. But honestly, a lot of the time, I think you'd just be going level 1 with this deck. We have the ears because, like I said, you're going to usually stay at level 1. So if you want to be attacking with your Grey Wolf and stuff, ears has got to be in the deck. I mean, every Silvie deck's running that. We have boots because Fire Rye is one of the top 3 decks right now. This is a fantastic counterspell to that. We have Flute of Taming, really great option if you have that extra 1 like floating memory or something that you're not really planning on using. This can either be a Beast Spawn Ears, or you can, if you don't need the levels, which you're not going to need every single turn like other Silvie decks, you can actually just have this sit out here and just be an extra damage or health, which is really, really cool card, honestly. I think this is like slightly just underperforming right now. I think it's, or undervalued, I guess. Bauble of Mending. Similar thing to Flute of Taming, bring it out if you have that extra 1 floating memory or something. You can banish it anytime to draw a card, similar to GCR, but then you can actually give a non-human ally, which is going to be most of your allies. Actually, now that I say that, a lot of your allies are human, but you can hit quite a few things in this deck with the extra +1 health, and since it's like not a very commonly played card, you might be able to surprise your opponent with that. Life Essence Amulet, drawing in this deck is very important, so let's just go ahead and go into our kind of surprising other draw choices as well. We have a Life Essence, a Wind and Fire Bauble, and then obviously everyone runs GCR, but the theory behind this is that you really need to go through a lot of cards in this deck, and you're kind of just going all gas, no brakes, so getting extra draws each turn does help you quite a lot instead of trying to go into like, your level 3 Silvie to go control or something. So we're doing aggro Fire Silvie for sure, and this is a very, very neat tech. I like this a lot. So you run Sword of Seeking. Now, you could even bring this out before you go into your level 1 Silvie, depending on what your hand looks like. And you'll see we run 1 copy of Blazing Throw. So I wouldn't really recommend going into this right away, but if you see Blazing Throw in your hand, you can bring this out, swing with your champion, because you're not really running any other attack cards in here. So like just getting that 1 extra damage can help, and then Blazing Throw it away for 4 more damage. So by materializing and using 1 card from hand, you just did 5 damage to your opponent, which can be as much as like a quarter of their health or something. So that's a really like nice little synergy that I think some people are kind of like missing out on when you're not trying to run like Fire Lorraine decks or a warrior or whatever. Just going Blazing Throw, Sword of Seeking can actually be really, really good, because you don't need to go into the sword unless you already have the Blazing Throw in hand. Speaking of undervalued cards, I'm going to talk about Gildas. Gildas is a very, very undervalued SR right now. A lot of people just haven't really realized the power of her, but this can be a really fantastic thing to just play turn 1, especially if you're going first. Auto balance right away, because you have a 7-card hand, you play Gildas, you have 3 in memory, 3 in hand. And if your opponent tries to attack into it, you're going to be able to retaliate and deal 4 damage before like they're really doing anything. So, and then if they keep it alive, they're going to be worrying about taking 4 damage every single turn that it's on there. So Gildas is a really, really strong card, really good turn 1 play, and so is Arthur. Arthur's another really good turn 1 play, because if you can't attack, like let's say you're going first, you can just play Arthur, use his effect, rest him, give him more immortality, and on the next turn you're already going to be able to do kind of like that big buffed push, just with as many units as you can. So Those are both pretty good turn 1 plays, and we have another decent turn 1 play with Fervent Beastmaster. The reason that these are all, like, you know, valid options is because they all have 3 health, which honestly in this game is a pretty decent amount on turn 1, especially if you're playing against something like a Fire Rye or something like that, you know, they're not going to really be usually doing that much damage right away. You know, they have to get into a class bonus to do anything with like Sparkle Light and stuff like that, and Creative Shocks, even if they are class bonus, is only going to be doing 2 damage. And even Lorraine decks, you know, they might get a sword out and have 1 damage, but they'll need, you know, a Flame Rune Swordsman or something like that to finish it off. And if they attack into this with their sword to try to deal 1 damage to it, you can retaliate back. So, you know, I like dropping just those like really beefy bodies on turn 1 and just kind of letting my opponent stare at them. Then we run a pretty heavy discard engine. So we have 4 Hasty Messenger. This, you attack, discard a card, draw a card. Commonly used in fire decks. Usually you're, you know, discarding Floating Memory and stuff like that, which is basically the same goal in this deck. If you don't have a Floating Memory to discard, just discard any generic fire card that you don't value as much, because a big part of our deck is getting fire cards into the graveyard. And the bonus is that you're going to be dealing 1 damage. If you did something like an Arthur turn 1 and Immortality him, you know, you play this next turn, you're going to be hitting with 2 damage with the Hasty and then 2 damage with the Arthur as well. So you can actually get some damage pretty fast in this game. Cemetery Sentry is kind of a backup turn 1 play as well if you don't really have anything else, but it can die a lot easier. So usually, you know, like I don't even really, this could be cut from the deck, honestly, but I just wanted to be able to discard a lot of cards. And we'll get why, we'll touch on that in a second. 4 Embertail Squirrels. So this can die pretty easily. I mean, even Ignite the Soul can kill it. So, you know, you can lose a 2-for-1 with this card pretty quickly. But like I said, this is a little bit more of a fun deck. Playing a Squirrel, actually having it connect for 4 damage and discarding a Fire Element card really is not bad in this deck. Even though you're losing that card, putting that pressure onto your opponent and fueling up your graveyard is kind of what it's kind of the whole point of the deck, so it does work pretty well. Then we have 4 Creative Shock. This is, again, just more draw discard stuff. Even though it doesn't really put pressure on your opponent, for what we're trying to do, it does make sense to run in the deck. Then we have our pretty small animal and beast package. So obviously the Embertail Squirrel is also an animal. The Woodland Squirrels are an animal, but we only run 4 Grey Wolves. So your Beastmasters might not get the buff as often as you might like, but they will still get the Vigor class bonus, which is pretty handy for helping them stay alive or dealing, you know, just retaliating back at your opponent can slow them down a lot, or just hurt their champion, which is literally the goal of the deck, right? So we run a small animal package, but that is on purpose, and that's also, again, why we're just a little bit more focused on going to the level 1 Silvie and not as much as the level 2 Silvie. Woodland Squirrels also is a really, really nice card in Gildas decks, because if you ever are in that awkward stage where you have like 8 cards in hand, let's say you're going second or something, and you find yourself with a Gildas, you know, you start the game with 7, draw for your turn, you have 8. If you play Gildas, you would have 3 in memory and 4 in hand. But then if you play Squirrels, since it's a 0 cost, you're not putting any extra in your memory and you're getting rid of your hand. So then you can just immediately swing 5 damage into your opponent on your turn 1 when they already have a champion out, which can be really scary, which is, I don't know, I like that synergy. We have 4 Energetic Beast Bonders. It's kind of in here just because it's a red floating memory card, but the level buff can be relevant. And then talking about red floating memory cards, Tempered Steel. This is literally just a red floating memory card. If you don't know what that card text does, don't worry, that's all it is. We have 3 Cremation Ritual. Getting red cards into your graveyard again is very crucial in this deck, and if you play something like a Squirrels and then cremate it, you know, it's not really like a good tempo play, but it can deal some damage, it can help you cycle, and this is just also a really good card so that you're not going too wide against a Lorraine deck that's just going to draw 4 cards off you or something. We play Spurn to Ash because we need to get rid of an Nullifying Lantern. If you were actually like wanting to play this deck in a best of 3 or something, you could even maybe side deck these, but side deck 2 or 3 of them or something like that. Or, you know, it's a crucial card. We have that 1 Blazing Throw just for the cheeky Sword of Seeking and Blazing Throw combo. This is a 5 damage combo for just a materialization and a 1 cost card from hand. So that can really help you close out games and in a way that your opponent really might not suspect. Because like I said, there's not a lot of people either either that strategy just sucks and I'm overlooking something, or there's just not a lot of people like really paying attention to that synergy right now. I mean, all right, I'm talking about this too much, but obviously people know of this synergy, but I mean more in like a deck that you might not want to run Sword of Seeking in, you know, a non-Lorraine deck. So let's talk about melodies. We have Blissful Calling. This can be a little bit of a curse in this game, in this deck, I should say, because we actually don't have a huge animal and beast count, so this can whiff. But the important thing is it's a 1-cost melody. And then we have Ember Song. So any experienced players probably already seeing where we're going with this deck. This can deal 2 damage to a target ally, which is actually pretty useful if you want to clear your opponent's board while also still dealing damage to your opponent, because clearing their board means that they're going to be able to clear your board less easy. And but you don't want to spend all your attacks into their board and then not go face. This can kind of help you do both, because it'll deal 2 damage to an ally, and then it'll also give an ally you control +2. So it helps you clear board and also still go face pretty easily. We have 4 Song of Nurturings. You can honestly probably cut this down to 3 and then do like another Ember Song or something. But the nice thing is that, you know, not a super popular played card right now. You might be able to surprise your opponent by giving +2 health when they go for maybe like a sweep turn or something. Unfortunately, most things in this deck are a fairly low health, so you're not going to like protect your whole board of like 3 creatures or something, but it can also be used to push damage as well if you have a really high hand count. Maybe you went into your Bauble and your GCR and all that stuff. So, but again, it's just a melody, which we run 3 Erupting Rhapsodies. I did have 4 in here at first, and then I just realized that you don't really need 4. With how much draw this deck does, by the time that you actually need to see this card, you'll have it. And so this will banish fire element cards from your graveyard. You get +1 level until the end of the turn for each card banished that way. And then if you've activated a melody card, which are all these cards up here, you can choose a unit or units and deal level damage split between them. So let's say you banish, you know, 5 fire cards from your graveyard. You're already your Silvie level 1. Maybe you have Beastbound Ears out as well. Now all of a sudden you're going to be doing 7 damage for a 2-cost card, which, you know, isn't as impressive as like, you know, some of the damage that, you know, Fire Rye can get to and stuff. But Fire Rye's not doing a Gilded Squirrels combo on turn 1 to do 5 damage. They're not doing Sword of Seeking Blazing Throw the next turn to do another 5 damage. You know, like this is going to be enough to close out a game. So obviously there's a lot of synergy in this deck. There's a lot of ways that your synergies can go wrong. You know, if you don't draw the proper hands, if your opponent is just sweeping your whole board faster than you thought or something, you're definitely going to lose, which is why this is absolutely more of a fun deck to bring to locals and just have a good time with. But it is a pretty cool deck nonetheless, and I love Silvie. I'm really hoping that she becomes tier 1 sooner than later, because it's the first deck that I really tried to make work, and just hoping that we can actually break it one day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We are trying to do casual and competitive deck lists on here, as well as a lot of other Grand Archive content. So please make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and just keep an eye out for all of our other videos. Peace.